Breathe demo CD. March 2017, I met my manager Shad Woodman, a national touring sound engineer since he was 19. Have you ever heard of the bands The Goo Goo Dolls, Linkin Park, The Offspring? I could go on and on. He has been in the industry at this point for 30 plus years. How did I find him? Good question. Remember when I said that most people in the music scene wanted sex or money? Well, during my time looking for someone to help guide me in the right direction with this music stuff, I saw a local band, Sin Circus, post a picture of their guitar player in front of a guitar speaker on Instagram. They were in the studio recording in Tacoma, Washington. I hit up the studio page on Instagram, and then we met about a month later. I had 2 pocket knives in my pocket that day, and I was seriously ready to kill whoever would try to kill me. When I met Shad and walked into the studio, not only was I scared, but I kept repeating myself, "Where is your studio?" over and over again. Because when you walk in the studio, you don't see the Neem console, the board that has all the turning knobs in studios, until you hit the control room, which is in the middle of the building. Before the control room, there is the lounge and the duplication room. The duplication room is a small room where we change guitar strings, print CDs, deal with merchandise, hold camera equipment, and other things. But he was showing me the room, and I did not trust him. That room was small, and I didn't want him to kill me. So finally, we get to the control room, and I felt safer. And one song led to another, and he loved them all. This is Shad's version of that day. A day that changed both of our lives. Even if you are not a spiritual person, please read this. August 1st, 2016. After 3.5 long years of working to build my recording studio, today was the day that I was finally open for business. It was my full-time job building this dream studio in a commercial building for more than 3 years. And today was my first recording session with great musicians. The calendar had filled up quickly with clients booking sessions of all kinds, but that was not the biggest event of that day. At the end of the first day of business, I drove home late in the evening, full of pride and happiness. It was finally open and operational. When I made it home, I had actually received the most terrible news. I was confused and devastated. This started a very, very long season of confusion, hope, doubt, and uncertainty. Everything I had known was just blown apart, thrown away, and trampled with no explanations. This led me to the lowest point in my life, and I was lost beyond words. Sometime in late September, on possibly the worst day of my life, I had driven frantically to my friend Sherry's house to hopefully get some sort of support, wisdom, or words of encouragement, or just to be in a safe place. She informed me that her friend Tina was on her way over and they were having a Bible study. I was not Christian, but Sherry and Tina were, and they asked me to sit in on their Bible study. I was desperate, so I agreed to just sit and try to follow along as they read from the Bible. I was hoping for some sense of relief, calm, or anything that would take away my hurting. I had never read the Bible at all, and I did not have a clue about anything to do with God. All 3 of us were sitting at the dining room table with Bibles open in front of us, and I kept breaking down. Literally, I was losing my mind. I had my head hung low, sobbing uncontrollably, and blowing snot bubbles out of my nose the size of my fist. I was at the end of myself. I didn't care what happened next. Someone could shoot me, and I was okay with that. There was literally nothing left of me. I had never been there like that ever in my life. As I was losing my mind and really spiraling downward, Sherry and Tina got up from their seats and came over to me and placed their hands on me and started praying for me. It was the first time anyone had ever done anything like that for me. It felt really weird. Really weird. I was just kind of thinking, whatever happens, happens. I don't care if it feels weird. I don't care if I die. I don't care at all. I have nothing left at all. So there I was with 2 very loving friends with all the faith in the world putting their hands on me and praying so hard for me, asking God to take it from me, with an open Bible on the table in front of me. My head hung lower than my heart. My tears and snot soaking the pages of the Bible. Then Sherry says to me, "Shad, ask Jesus to take it away from you and he will." That sounded really weird to me. I've never thought that way at all. I was gone. I was literally a shell of myself. With both ladies, hands on me praying for me to be okay, Sherry says again, "Shad, ask Jesus to come in your heart and ask him to take it from you, and he will." In that moment, I was so gone and I had nothing to lose, and even though it sounded like a strange thing to do, I relented. So I lifted my head up, closed my eyes, and I said, Jesus, please come into my heart and take this from me. I cannot carry it anymore. Even as I spoke the words, it felt strange to make a statement like that. In fact, I would even say foolish. As soon as I finished speaking those words, the strangest thing happened. I got a massive flash of Jesus' face in my mind's eye. I mean massive. It was blinding. It took my breath away. As soon as I saw that flash of his face, my head tipped backwards quite so far. As that happened, it felt like I was getting hit in the chest with 50 lightning bolts as I saw his face. It seemed to last for a long time. I felt like I was almost convulsing, but I didn't know if I was actually doing that. It just felt like I was. There I was with nothing left of me, 2 dear friends praying for me, a Bible in front of me soaked with my tears and snot, a picture of Jesus' face burned into my mind, and something hitting me in the chest in rapid fire, filling me up at the same time, taking my pain away. It all stopped as suddenly as it had began. It seemed to end with a giant vacuuming sound. When it calmed down, I was exhausted. I wasn't crying anymore. I felt calm. I felt okay. I felt shocked. I felt relieved. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I looked up at Sherry and I said, "What the was that?" And very calmly, Sherry said, "That was Jesus, Shad." I was blown away. I said to her, "Whoa, that was amazing. I can breathe. Did you know that that was going to happen?" She calmly said, "Yes, it happens all the time." I was speechless. I wasn't magically healed, but I was calm. I was not crying. I felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like I was going to be okay. The pain in my chest, the anxiety, the wanting to die, the stress, all gone. I could breathe again, and I was so shocked. I felt like an infant, and I did not know at all what to do, so I just stayed there with my friends. That event made me a believer in God. I am not the kind of person to go around preaching to anyone because I'm not qualified to do so, but I cannot deny what happened to me. I started reading and studying the Bible on my own because of the peace I found in the wisdom of its pages. Sherry and her husband Marcel were so supportive in helping me learn, stay calm, and keep moving and keep learning. They are some of the most important people in my life. Like a lot of people, I don't like being preached to. I am kind of rebellious. But if anyone asks me about my journey, I will gladly tell them and declare that there are things in this life that we cannot explain with science. Those things we must take on faith. But those things we take on faith are no less real. For the next couple of months, I kept my head down, running the studio and working on myself. I kept going to church, and when I was home alone at night, I would read the Bible and try to make sense of it all. It was good practice for me to get my head and heart wrapped around it all. There was so much wisdom in that book, so much peace and calm. What I learned was that we humans have been messing things up for a very long time. What we go through today is nothing new. If you are going through something, I guarantee there is someone in the Bible that has gone through it too. Human nature has not changed for thousands of years. We are all still human, and that is why we need God. Why does all this matter? Well, because it laid the foundation for what comes next. Meeting Kira Michele. February 2017, I had received a message from a young lady that went by the name Kira Michele from my Instagram page. Her message simply said, "I am trying to promote myself and my music on social media, and here are some links to my music." She had posted about 4 links to her songs in various places, and none of them worked. Well, I was still dealing with a lot and trying to run a new business, so I didn't respond to her. I didn't know anything about her. I never heard of her, or her music. I just sort of swept it away and forgot about it. I never responded to her. I just got busy and forgot about it. About a month later, I was going through my messages and came across her DM again. I realized at the time I had never responded to her. So I sent her a note and told her, "Since your links didn't work, how about you just bring your mom, dad, boyfriend, or whoever your support group is and come by the studio tomorrow, and we'll talk about your music and see what you're doing." She agreed to come by the next day and told me that she would be bringing 2 people with her. Kira had arrived at 4 p.m., and I saw her on the security camera when she knocked on the studio door. So I went and opened the door slowly, and as I opened it, I saw her face. And as she saw me, she reeled backwards and put her hands up around her face, terrified, and she was alone. No parents, no friends. She had come by herself, and I could see she was scared to death. But she came anyway. I held the door open for her and backed away from her and invited her in. I could see how scared and untrusting she was. I started to give her the normal tour I would give to musicians when they showed up to check out the studio. Standing in the lobby, she was staying a good distance away from me and kept saying, "Where's the studio?" I would show her something and she would interrupt and say again, "Where's the studio?" She appeared really damaged, very untrusting and suspicious. When I finally got to the control room and opened the door, she was able to see the mixing console and the other nice gear, and she relaxed just a bit. I could tell she was still terrified and untrusting, so I continued to keep my distance from her. After she realized I wasn't going to kill her with an axe, she relaxed a bit, and I sat on the couch in the control room. I sat at the board and we talked for a bit. She told me that she just does music by herself. She doesn't have anyone that helps her. She taught herself to play guitar and sing. So I was kind of thinking to myself, oh my, what have I gotten myself into? How can I get out of it? After talking for a bit, she said she has her guitar out in the car, and she would like to play me a couple of songs. I sort of bit my lip and thought, what the heck, let her play a couple songs and send her on her way. Well, I walked her out to her car, and I was shocked. It was a 1994 Honda Civic that had been rear-ended by a semi-truck. Seriously, it had the trunk pushed all the way up to the rear window. I was surprised that it was drivable. The right front headlight was hanging out dangling by the wires, and when she unlocked her car to reach into the back seat and grab her guitar, I noticed she had a club auto theft device on the steering wheel. This car was a disaster, but it was everything she had, and her fear of someone stealing it was another signal to me that this girl has next to nothing and is damaged. So I need to be gentle with her. Then I saw her guitar. It was a very cheap Savannah acoustic. We went back into the control room, and she sat on the couch, and I sat at the board. She flipped the guitar over and was rubbing her hands across the back of it. I asked her what she was doing, and she says very matter-of-factly, "My guitar has a big hole in the back, so I put tape over it." Then I realized there was also tape on the front holding the top on. This guitar was a pile of junk to begin with, but now it is held together with masking tape. Again, I started thinking, what have I gotten myself into, and how can I get out of it gracefully? Well, we chatted for a minute or so, and I finally said to her, "Let's hear what you got." So, she tunes the guitar, surprisingly well, and hit the very first chord of some song, and immediately you could hear the authority with the very first chord. It was like, whoa, someone can play. Then she starts singing, and I was like, wow, what a great voice. This girl could play her broken guitar really well, and she sang her butt off. The song she played was Breathe, and of course, I had not heard that song before, but it sounded like a well-produced, professionally written song. I figured it was a cover tune that I wasn't familiar with, so when she finished, I asked her, "Where did you get that song?" She replied simply, "I wrote it when I was 16. I was blown away. She plays guitar like a seasoned pro and has a great sounding voice. And she wrote the song when she was 16? I told her, "That was really good. Do you have another one?" And she said yes, and she was smiling from ear to ear. So now, before she plays another song, she says to me, "Can I come sit next to you?" I said, "Sure you can." So she pulls a chair up next to me at the board, and before she starts playing, she asks me questions very quickly. "What do you think about Lady Gaga? What do you think about God? What do you think about weed? What do you think about gay people?" Since apparently she was feeling a bit more comfortable, I just kept answering questions for a bit. Finally, she figures it's time to play another song, so she plays "I Cant Love Me." The second song was as good as the first song. I asked her again, "Where did you get that song?" She says, "I wrote it when I was 14. I was now really blown away. What just walked into my door? So, after a little bit, I took her broken guitar and put it on a stand. And I took her into our large live recording room where we have a big sound system. I gave her my Breed Love studio guitar, and I turned on the sound system and plugged in the guitar and vocal mic for her. I just said, "Here, play as loud and as long as you want." She just started going to town. She had played for about 30 minutes and my phone rang. My friend Chris Corzin was playing a gig up the street from the studio and asked if I was doing anything. I told him, "Chris, you need to come by and see this girl." So he shows up and listens to her for a minute, and then he starts setting up my studio drum kit behind her. After the kit was set up, he sits down behind it and listens to what she's doing, and he falls into the groove of her song with her. You could see her smile from outer space. Nobody had ever done music with her before, and here is a pro drummer jamming along with one of her songs that she wrote. I had started filming her with my iPhone. during this very first jam session. So that is pretty cool to actually have that. So after that, I had invited Kira to come back to jam with some other girls that were looking to put together an all-girl band. That lasted for a month or two, and the other girls sort of fell away, so I asked Kira, "Do you want to learn what I can teach you?" Without hesitating, she said, "Yes!" And so it began. After Kira had been coming to the studio for a while, my friend Sherry, that had helped me through my very rough time, that was close by the studio. Out of the blue, she called me and asked to come by. She showed up and for some reason met Kira in the lobby at the studio, and Kira asked her to help her get to know God. That was a very random thing in every way. Sherry had never once asked to come by the studio, much less come there to meet anybody, including Kira. It just happened. If I had not been through my intensely rough time and learned everything I had learned, I would not have had the knowledge or skills or understandings to take care of Kira when she showed up at my door. Kira and I had many discussions about Jesus before this happened. I helped her understand as best as I could with what little I knew. I would pick her up in my truck from her grandma's house, and we would talk all the way to the studio about everything, including God, politics, drugs, music, you name it. We were both very broken and lost. We both believed that God brought us together to help each other. I needed someone positive that I could mentor and keep a positive focus on as I worked through my brokenness. She needed a mentor that she could trust, that wouldn't hurt her or betray her, and would help her with music. The things she was dealing with were just as bad as mine. I will let her write about that as much as she is comfortable with. Since that is how our friendship began, we now work on so many different projects. Video shoots, recording projects, internet and business strategies. We are very good friends, and we trust each other a lot. We have seen each other at our worst and at our best. We are both new Christians. We are both broken and healing. We know that her music moves people, and I believe that God intends for us to use the time He has given us to do good, and the vehicle to do that is music. So, we are bonded by our experience, our journey, and our faith. So here we go. Neither of us knows exactly what the future looks like, but we are both excited to see where it takes us. Be blessed and be well. Shad Woodman, Kira Michele's manager. I met Shad with a beat-up black $112 acoustic guitar held together with duct tape. This man, Shad Woodman, has been in the music industry for over 30 years professionally, and he gave me the time of day. I won't forget one of the things he said to me. "When you played that first chord on that beat-up guitar, I knew you were a real player." When I met Shad, I had no idea about his life. I didn't know anything besides what we would talk about, which was music. But little did I know, Shad was going through one of the worst divorces. He was so torn. He was a very, very broken man. He had recently accepted God into his heart, and God was slowly healing him. To this day, we both fully believe and know with all our hearts and soul that him and I meeting was and is part of God's plan. So many times I wanted to give up. So many times Shad and I did not get along. So many times Shad and I got in text arguments, and he called me names and I called him names. We almost gave up on each other so many times too. Sherry Suter is who God chose to speak through, still speaks through her till this day. There were so many times I would be ready to give up, and I would get a call from Sherry out of nowhere, whipping me back into shape. Same with Shad. He would get calls from her all the time. Sherry never lies. She tells you how it is. Everything she believes is from the Bible, from God. That girl is almost never wrong. Her and her husband Marcel, my incredible bass player by the way, have had countless conversations with Shad and I just to keep us on this journey. We have no idea what God had planned or has planned, but we know His hand is on this whole music journey. He wants to use me to spread a message, and I absolutely will let myself be used by God. But think, did Sherry and Marcel get anything out of helping Shad and I? No, not at all. It was God, making sure that the enemy did not get between Shad and I, and that we did not let the enemy win. It is always a battle, but you can win. God was using Sherry and Marcel to speak into our lives, just so you know. And He continues to use others to speak His word. He did it so many times in the Bible too. Jesus Christ is the same today, yesterday, and forever. When I first met Shad, though, I had never played in a band before. It was always just me and my guitar. First day of me being in Decade, Shad told me that his brother Josh Woodman, my killer drummer, was teaching a girl on how to play the drums. Josh is a drum teacher. I did not meet this drummer girl, Anna, on the first day I met Shad. But the second day I came back, we met. Eventually, I met one of her friends, Megan, who ended up playing the bass. We became a band. For about a month or so. Our band name? The Reason. I have a tattoo on my arm that says everything happens for a reason. That is what the band name was stemmed from. When I got this tattoo, I just wanted something positive to remind me that everything was going to be okay. No matter what I go through, there's a reason, and I need to learn something from it. I wasn't saved then. I didn't accept Jesus into my heart, so I felt super lonely. I want you guys to know that God does not tempt you. A lot of people think he does because of testing, but he only does good, never evil. The enemy tempts us. God puts us through trials and tribulations to test our faith and strengthen it. We all know that without experience, it is hard to feel or know something. And in order for us to have strong faith, we have to go through a storm and test our faith. Will we focus on Jesus through the storm or focus on the storm? Part of growing means ripping away from the old and becoming new. Think of a plant. Sherry brought me outside for this amazing analogy that she made up on her own, on the spot. There was a plant with dead leaves outside her garden. She called me outside. She said, "Kira, what does this remind you of?" And I knew exactly where she was going with it. When you have a plant that is trying to grow, you have to pick off the dead leaves so that they don't take out the healthy ones or take energy away from the healthy leaves. You have to pick off the old to continue growing in the new. Have you ever seen the movie Spider-Man? He is my favorite superhero, by the way. But he has an enemy with the name of Venom. And what happens is, when Venom gets on someone, it takes them over and turns them into an evil person. That is the same with sin or temptations. Whatever we feed, we grow. Whatever grows is what we become. Okay, back to the band. We didn't work out. It was a cool band name, though. So Shad and I started busting out some songs for the demo CD. It took 6 months to get the demo CD done. The 3 people who were on my demo CD were Billy Shue, who played the guitar, Dana Brown, who played the bass, and Josh Woodman, who played the drums. They all donated their time to the demo CD. I didn't have to pay any of them. And for that kind of talent they have, I should have paid them a couple thousand, maybe even more each. I had no money when I met Shad, and Shad was using his currency to bring these guys in. I love those guys. Songs on the demo are Equally. I wrote this about Shad and what Shad was going through with his divorce. It doesn't matter how old you are, we all still hurt equally. Leave Me Alone. I wrote this about being tired of being bullied in high school and tired of the tough childhood. Breathe. I had a friend that made fun of me when I first started the music journey. She put me down and my music down. I Can't Love Me. I found it really hard to love myself. I could love others, but always put myself on the back burner. Don't put others' limitations on yourself. The Path. This one is about being stuck between love and pursuing your dreams. I chose my dreams. One thing I have to say is, in order to love yourself, you have to learn how to love others correctly. That will teach you everything you need to know about loving yourself. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. Does that mean we need to put ourselves on the back burner? No. But love others truly. Then your inner strength becomes stronger, and you realize what you need in return, and can surround yourself with those kind of people. Life is about fighting through things, trials and tribulations. It is hard, but you can do it. You teach the world how you want to be treated. How can God fill your cup with more if your cup is already full? Marcel Suter. If you don't give, you don't receive.